What if the way you've been telling your life story reveals the secret to what is holding you back? Stories play an integral part in how we see not only ourselves, but the whole world. Stories are more than just an important part of communication. They also reveal hidden aspects of our inner talk, which can either support us or end up holding us back from the very things we want most in life, without us even realizing it. Join author, mindset coach, and award-winning singer-songwriter Carrie Rowan on her show, Look for the Good, every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. when she shares nuggets of wisdom from her internationally best-selling book, Tell a New Story, 5 Simple Steps to Release Your Negative Stories and Bring Joy to Your Life. Carrie's powerful stories and compelling guests will empower you to change how you look at your own life while giving you some powerful tools and tips you can use every day to help you feel better and move yourself closer to the life you've been longing to live.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Look for the Good. I'm your host, Carrie Rowan, mindset strategist and life coach, and I love sharing nuggets of wisdom about the stories that we tell each other, and more importantly, those quiet stories we tell in our heads, right? Join me and my special guests as we share our personal stories of strength and triumph every week here on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. You can listen online on your mobile device, in your car, or ask Alexa to play Dream Vision 7 Radio. And tune in every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. to get real stories and tips on how to turn your story and your life around and evolve with us as we unite humankind with universal love. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Look for the Good. Super excited to be here with Jen Tefft. Hi, Jen, waiting in the wings.
Hello, hello.
And so we have so much to talk about. Before we dive in, you guys know I love talking about stories, right? We all have stories. Stories are so important because they're like a little microcosm of our lives, right? And as you know, for many, many years as a singer-songwriter, my stories were just 3 minutes long, and so are Jennifer's. And we're going to talk about that 3-minute story. We're going to talk about how you can pack so much emotion into your story and what's the point of our stories? What's the purpose of our stories, right? And I found for me that writing music and writing the very things I couldn't talk about in my songs was just so cathartic and so healing. And then I realized it wasn't just that for me as a writer, it was that for every single person that I presented that song to, right? So everybody interprets things and when they came directly out of my heart, they just shot directly into somebody else's heart. And that, I think, is the most beautiful part of music is the healing part of it. So we're going to talk all about that. Let me introduce Jen. You've got such a long bio because you've done so many incredible things. So no, that's not it at all. You're accomplished. So recently, she was recognized as the New England Music Awards Female Performer of the Year, in 2021. Congratulations on that. During COVID, too. Wow, that's even more impressive. So Jennifer Tefft is fired up, energizing presence that creates earthy music from its roots and breathes fresh, soulful rock and roll life into them. Her music combines intense rhythms with melancholy textures and haunting vocals that wind easily from darkly ethereal to outspoken, creating her own brand of gritty, lush alternative rock. I love that. After getting her start playing for change in the subways and streets of Cambridge, wow, Jennifer met guitarist John Polaro many years ago. Did I say that right?
Yeah, Perillo. Sorry to correct you.
Many years ago, and they began writing and playing together as a duo. Following several years playing the circuit in Boston and Cambridge, they released their first album, Dig This Thing, along with bass player Jeff St. Pierre and drummer Phil. I know Phil. Yes, because I know his wife. And they soon hit the road playing shows along the Eastern Seaboard and the Midwest. Since then, Jennifer has gone on to release 4 more albums with her band on the label Gypsy Spin Music that she owns. Unbelievable. Like the list goes on and on of all the amazing things that she's done. You guys can see the bio because I'll put it in the show notes. Really, really incredible. I'm so honored to have you here on the show today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Absolutely. And you just released a new album. Dun, 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 dun. How is that going? Oh my gosh. There's no more exciting time in a singer-songwriter's life when they release the album, and it was called Strange Beginnings. How is that happening? What's going on?
It's been great. It's gotten really great response. And I think we kind of leveled up on this one with a big name producer, and we retooled the band a little bit, and we've just gotten such amazing positive response from everybody that it's been a lot of fun to see, you know, the press reviews and media reviews, but more for me, as people that have known our music for years, who've chimed in and been like, wow, this is just like the best work you've done. And I love that, you know, because as we get older, we worry about whether, you know, our work is still relevant. And
Yeah, we really
it's
do.
been really exciting to see people's response to it.
I love that. I love that. And so how many albums do you have now?
I think that makes six. Makes six.
Wow, 6 albums. That's amazing. I know how much heart and soul goes into making an album and all the things that happen really to lead up. And, you know, you back up into the album, each song has a life of its own, right? Like each song is one of our babies. We've we've spent a lot of time nurturing it and growing it up, and it changes over time and evolves. Um, what would you say if somebody was just getting to know your music? Which song would you pick for them to listen to first?
Well, that's a tough one because each of these songs on this album has such a different sort of genesis story and journey. I'd say as far as like the new lineup of the band and the energy and the new sort of excitement of what we in the band are all experiencing, I would say listen to the song Caffeine. We wrote that all together. It's the first song on the album, and it's the first song we ever wrote together with this new, we've been together now almost 2 years, this particular lineup. And it was just, it happened very quickly and organically, and we were all super excited about it. And that's a song that didn't get a whole lot of time to mature before it got recorded. We actually were literally finishing it while we were tracking it in the studio. So I kind of feel like it really encapsulates everything we're doing right now, you know.
Really, I love that, and it's got a fresh feel too, right? Because 'Cause you've got some new players there, you changed it up, and that's not always easy to do, right? To, when you get into a groove with somebody, it's hard to start over again. How did
Yeah,
that all
it was
come?
scary for sure,
Yeah,
definitely
it's
scary.
definitely scary because you get so used to. I know, I was in a duo for a very long time, and I haven't stepped back out since we were not she moved away, and, yeah, you had just you get it. You could just get into this rhythm with each other where you can just, look and you know where you should go next, and, you know, playing live is brings all those fun elements of the unknown to it.
Yeah.
So, I love that. So, talk to me a little bit about I really love talking to people about the creative process, right? Me being a creative as well. And, you know, I've mentioned my book before, and in my book is my music. So when somebody's reading one of the stories that I said I couldn't talk about, I only, you know, we used to do the banter between the songs. And so I would always talk about the story behind the song, right? And people would come up to me afterwards and be like, oh, that story, so amazing. You really moved me. I get it. Or they related in some way. And so that just stuck in my head. And as an English major, I always knew someday I'd write a book. But in my book is my music. So when I tell the story that I thought I could never tell, just sing about it. There's a little QR code in the book. So, you know, we love creation, right? I loved creating all the music. I still am writing and creating music. And then I loved putting more words to it, but it was scary, right? It's scary at first. We're opening up our hearts and being really vulnerable. Tell us a little bit about your creative process. How do you get in that place? How do you get in that in the moment flow place when you are writing prolifically?
It's funny for me, it definitely comes in spurts, and it'll be like I'll go through a huge spurt for like 6 months and I'll write a bunch of stuff and then it'll just stop, you know. And I need to be listening to music constantly to get that flow going. And
Mhm.
I'm guilty sometimes of just being, because music, I do music all day, you know, and sometimes I just need, you know, no music in my head, and I'll listen to like talk radio, and that does not inspire me very much at all, because it's usually the news or sports radio or something like that, just for the funniness of it. But for me, it all starts differently. Sometimes it starts with a lyric idea. Sometimes it starts with something I just happen to hit a chord that inspires a certain vibe or a feeling. Sometimes it's a song I've heard that I just absolutely cannot get out of my brain, and I need to write something that makes me think of that or emulates that song.
Yeah.
Um, but each song, some of the songs are laborious. Like there's a song on the new album called Lullaby that I actually just posted a video on my social feed yesterday. One of the original versions came up in my video feed, and I've literally gone through 12 versions of that song. I just could not figure out where it was supposed to go. And
Really?
finally, it was time to put it on the album, and I was like, "This is the version. That's what it's gonna be."
Pick one.
It's hard, because nothing's
So
ever
hard.
done. You can always change it. So
Yes.
once it gets to the album point, that's when you call it done, and even then, it takes on a different form when you play it live. So for me,
Right.
the creative process is really, making myself sit down and actually sit with my own feelings. A lot of
Mm.
times I'll write when I'm in a tumultuous state, or, at the bottom of the up and down curve of our roller coaster of emotions. And That's why sometimes I always say I take myself a little too seriously as a songwriter. It's harder for me to write the sort of lighter, happier stuff because it doesn't feel authentic to me a lot of times. Because when I'm feeling happy and content, I'm usually out doing something else. I turn to music to process the more difficult side of things usually.
I
I guess it was
totally
a
get
very
that.
long-winded answer to that question.
No, I love it. It's not long-winded at all because I love the process because I think everybody obviously goes about it differently.
Mhm.
Um, and whatever, we're always creating. It doesn't matter. You could be making a nice dinner at home. That's your creative process, right? But I just think I love to hear from other singer-songwriters because everybody's process is so different. Like I like to think about the words a lot too. And of course, we all write when we're feeling tumultuous about something is when that best stuff comes out of us, I feel like.
Mhm.
I tell that to my daughters all the time, like, okay, get your journal and start writing these feelings down. Like, look at this, what's out there right now in the market, like Olivia Rodrigo, like she's writing Guts tour because I went on it because
Gosh,
I
I
had to, because my
love her.
daughter,
Love her.
right? Because it's so real. And like, I went to the concert. We just, long story short, got tickets. We had these amazing box seats. So she was like right in front of me. And, I'm with my daughter and her friend. And you could, it's like a cult following. You could almost not hear her sing
Right.
at the Fleet Center because
Right.
every
They're all
young
singing.
girl in there was singing from the bottom of her lungs. I mean, they were so loud. It was unbelievable.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I think it's a beautiful thing because when you can hit that chord of truth, right? Um, that's what really resonates. Not only for us, we know when we've hit it, and that's what resonates with everybody else, the feeling, that core feeling.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so, people are always, especially during like COVID, people really started to understand how much we valued music because for people who aren't creatives or who aren't writers or whatnot, sometimes have a hard time figuring out that emotional thing and finding a way to get through it or past it. And music is that one tool that can come in and just completely gut you, right? If you connect with it on that level, or it can lift you, it can motivate you. And I think, sometimes it feels self-indulgent to be a songwriter and a musician.
Mm,
We're not curing cancer, but in some ways it really is very medicinal, and it does affect people's lives and become a very valuable part of people's day-to-day life and how they relate to their own emotions and how they express their own emotions. So I try to
yeah.
remind myself of that.
Yes, exactly. It is. I mean, music soothes the soul. I mean, we all turn to music in different ways. I mean, I still, it's just such an integral part of my work now, even though it's shifted somewhat. And it's one of the fastest things, which is what I teach clients of mine, to change your mindset, right? It's one of the quickest things you can do. And then when you combine music and movement, you've got a real quick formula to get yourself back to where you want to be, whether it's going to a meeting or to go into a concert, right? And it's like, it's an integral part, but sometimes I think people take music for granted because it's always there, it's always around. And then when we didn't have it, we didn't have the live
Like,
music, right?
yeah.
That feeling of the beating of the bass in your heart you can feel when you're at a live concert. We all were like, "Oh, we're lost without live music?"
Yeah, and there's that communal aspect, which, everything is so isolated and separated now. People are watching movies at home on screens, and we're not gathering in big spaces as much as we used to. And I will never forget when I took my daughter, I think she was maybe 10 or 11, to her first concert. She was obsessed with 21 Pilots, knew every word, knew every word.
I love
And
it.
I was just beside myself at this show. They were fantastic band, great, love them, everything. But watching her experience this joy. And the thing she said to me, she was like, "I finally get it, Mama. I'm part of something bigger. Like this
Mm,
community of people who are all experiencing this one moment in time together where it's never going to be the same again, the same group of people, the same musical experience. And I think that's something that we're losing a little bit today. And not as many people go out and see live music anymore
Mhm.
and feel that, communal thing of everybody singing along with you, almost to the point where you're like, oh my gosh, be quiet. I want to hear the person on stage singing. But like
Right.
that energy and that just that, I don't know, communion that comes
Yeah.
together, people being all in the same place is such an integral part of what we do. Um, and I can't sort of, preach that enough, like how important it is to experience that.
So true. I love that she was so insightful at such a young age too. That's like,
Yeah, she's an
whoa.
old
She
soul.
I have one of those too. My youngest is like that for sure. But I love how you said the communion because we're communing together. That, you as the performer on that stage can take us to places we didn't even know were available, and that's the beauty of writing and then performing that when you're in that moment and taking them right along to the place that you go back to. And as the performer on the stage, there's nothing that feels just, I don't know, just more like alive when you know they're hanging on your every word and you know that they're being moved by your song, whether that's tears or happiness or clapping or whatever. Right? That's the pinnacle. That's why we do it.
Yeah, that's everything, it really is.
It is. It's everything. And that's why we make music. And it's hard. It's hard being a singer songwriter. Let's just put that out there.
It's not an easy business, that is for sure.
It's not, it's the strangest business. Now, I went from corporate America for 10 years, right out of college, right into corporate America because my dad said that's what I should do. And but I loved it, right? Like I got to talk to people and I learned so many skills from that 10-year period that I don't think I could be the entrepreneur that I am today without having had that, and then I went into work one day and said, I'm quitting because I'm gonna follow my dream to be a singer-songwriter. And they're like, what? You're gonna do
Right.
what? What?
Mhm.
You even sing? Like what?
Whole different world, right? Yeah.
Yes, it's completely. So music and business, it's a very, very interesting business. Yeah, very interesting business.
It is hard, I think, because, when you're in other sort of industries like corporate work or whatever, there are benchmarks to judge your achievement or
Mhm.
your value. For us, our value is based on everybody else's opinion of what we do. And that is very, very hard. And like
Yeah.
sometimes you can get to the point where you're like, I don't care what you think. That's fine. I'm doing what I need to do. It's not for everybody. And there's these people over here that love what I do, or trying to find just the value in the accomplishment of having created something. But there are days where, you're not quite as thick-skinned, and like someone else's opinion or just, lack of attention to it, I guess, is
Mhm.
you put a
Mhm.
lot of work into, can really take a toll on you mentally. And
Yeah.
you really have to love what you're doing, and find sort of the joy in the creation of it, to make it worthwhile, because financially it's not an easy business and emotionally it's not an easy business.
It's
And
not. Yeah.
just the schedule too, you're always out late, you're traveling,
Mhm.
it's just a lot, so you really
Yeah.
do have to be invested in the creation of the art that you're doing.
I love that. And remembering that it's art, right? Like it's, it's art. It really, and what you said is, and you think about it, I actually got asked to write an article on this one time about believing in ourselves and taking the leap on something. And we're so conditioned, right? Like we're so conditioned. We have to get that external praise. I mean, think about it. We clap, people clap for us when we're done with a song. And
Yeah.
so when you start to sort of, I think, separate yourself from that, needing that, although again, it's a conditioning, and start, like you said, believing in the art, believing that you are making the world a better place. You're not dying with your song still in you. All the things that we're doing, we're leaving a legacy with our music and we're showing other people. I mean, we could go on and on with the list of everything we're doing, right? We're showing those young people like our kids and the little kids that you teach, that music is beautiful and music is joyful. And so, yeah, it's hard though, like you said, to remember that, and the way the brain works is we're always looking for, I remember when we were launching our CD, I was telling you before we jumped on, we're the best-selling new release, all these great, amazing things at this kids CD. And then one day, we must have had 40, 50 beautiful reviews, one bad review. What did we focus on?
Yeah,
The
it's a
one,
human flaw, right? You could have
yes.
20,000 people telling you they love it, but that one person who doesn't is the one that sticks in your craw, right? You're like, "Ah."
Totally. It is a human problem for sure, because that's how our brain is designed. And there's a little relief from knowing that we're all designed that way, right? We're all programmed that way because our brains are designed to look for what's wrong. So we get hung up on that. We focus on that. And when we can shift that and say, well, hey, let's remember the, 49,000 other really good reviews we got
Yeah,
and focus on those and send that person some love and be on our way. And I think it's really part of the journey, as you're saying, is to really
yeah,
believe. And when you believe, guess what happens?
right. Other
Everybody else
people
believe.
pick up
Yeah.
on that too. Yeah.
Yeah. And they like your confidence. So we're going to break real quick, everybody. I know you're loving this conversation. We'll be right back with Jen Tefft. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Look for the Good. We are having such a good time here with Jen Tefft today. And one of the things I realized when I saw her Facebook post come up, of her on the ground with about 6 children jumping and hugging her, I just loved the picture so much because it brought me back to my days of being a kiddie performer. And talk to us about that. I called you a joy bringer earlier because that is like the most joyful job I ever had.
It really is. And so I'm not like a kids performer. I'm more of a early childhood music educator. So I have a company that I started almost not 9 years ago, 8.5, 9 years ago, called Jive and Sing. And we part of it we do is we teach a program called Music Together, which is early childhood music and movement for kids 0 to 6 with their grown-ups. So they're family music classes. So we
Hmm.
meet every week and we sit on the floor and we sing and we dance and we explore instruments and we have amazing conversations with 3-year-olds are one of my favorite things in the world. I just
Mm.
never know what they're going to say and what their angle is. And yeah, like, so never saw myself working with children ever. But I took my kids to these classes when they were little, and I was like, I think that's something I could do because I've always kind of been a toddler magnet. There's something that I just, everywhere I go, the kids always end up in my lap, and which I love, and
Yeah.
I'm a musician and I thought maybe I could make this work. And so about 8 or 9 years ago, I started it, and it's grown exponentially. So I have 2 centers now, one in Franklin, one in Medfield. And then we also have about 9 different daycare centers where we bring our own program in, to early childhood centers, daycare centers, preschools,
Hmm.
things like that. And it's been a huge learning experience for me, not only about like how to young children learn and their development, but just for myself and learning to let go of a lot of silliness and just not being afraid to get up in front of a group of people. You'd think as a performer you would have that down, but it's totally different when you're leading like a class,
Hmm.
and just not being afraid to be silly and connect with people through humor and music and making mistakes. Like there's always those silly moments where I do something completely off the wall, like I'm like, whoops, I don't know how that happened. In those really relatable human moments
Yeah.
that, and we've just built these really awesome communities in our classes. We have people
Mm.
that started classes with me back, 8 or 9 years ago. The kids are all in grade school now. The families still hang out together. The kids are friends. The parents are friends. And one of the biggest thing for me about it is, I know how hard it is to be a new young mother. You've got so
Hmm.
much going on, especially if you veer towards that sort of postpartum depression type thing, or just overwhelmed with how busy
Yeah.
life is and how hard it is to, you got to keep this little human alive and still, function. So I find a lot of joy and a lot of reward in making my moms or even my dads, whatever, come into class and feel like it's a very comfortable, warm, welcoming space, no matter what your child is like.
Yep.
Every child is different. Every child experiences the day differently. Some are more difficult to, adjust, or they don't process things quite as easily as some other kids. And my goal is to make them feel comfortable and accept everything that's going on in class as this is okay. This is part of childhood. This is, we can work with difficult behaviors. We can learn how to redirect them, and we can give you a break. If you want to go sit in the corner, I will take your baby and dance with your baby with you. You
Yeah.
know what I
I
mean?
love that. Yes, I
Um,
know exactly what you mean.
It's been just such a huge, I don't know, just labor of love for me, I think also as much as a
Yeah.
business. I really enjoy just setting that comfort level for people because I struggled as a young mom. I really definitely hit that point where I was just, oh my God, this is how my life is going to be forever. Everything is so hard
Mm.
and there is no time for me
Yeah.
and my body doesn't belong to me anymore. There's
Right.
someone on you or this. And like knowing and reassuring them that this is all okay and it's not forever. It really, as my youngest is graduating high school, goes by so fast.
Mm.
You will have yourself back again. You know what
It's
I
so
mean?
true. Yeah. And
And
everybody
people
says that, but you don't get it, right? Until you're in the thick of it.
and when people tell you that, like, when you're in the middle of like a really long day as a new mom, it's like, oh, you have to soak up every moment. It goes so fast. You want to punch them. You're like,
Right?
stop. I'm really struggling here. But that saying,
Totally.
the days are long, the years are short is true. And
Yeah.
this too shall pass, and we will use music and dance and laughter and fun to get you through it.
Yes, I love that. Well, I love that. I told you I did that for years, worked at a lot of different preschools, created my own little program. Um, yeah, then even launched a mommy and me kind of class because I took my kids to music together when they were little. I still have the CDs that I stumble into. We still have the songs right here in our heads.
They're like glue. They don't go away.
And so, then creating my own, I saw my guitar sitting there. I'm driving my daughter to preschool. I'm like, why don't I just see
Right.
if Marilyn, the teacher, needs some music here? Like, why don't I just, and then one thing led to another, and then that school and that school. And then before you know it, my other partner, then why don't we go do library shows, And the irony is that was the piece of my business that really made any money.
Right.
in the music.
Yep.
That funded our big girl music habit,
That's
right?
exactly everything I make goes into my big girl music and
Yeah.
right back out the door again.
Totally. So it's actually a beautiful cycle of things, right? If you're a musician. And yeah, I love everything you said. And the whole piece, I actually would do 10 minutes at the end for the moms called my calming mommy class. And I would just show them some energy medicine moves and stuff and how to calm themselves when the kids, melting down. And the moms loved it. They would even stay late, they'd want to learn all the things. So that was kind of a cool little bonus.
And I love that too, because I mean, for me, even without being told to do it, I think some of us intuitively go to music. Like all of a sudden, I sang my way through my kids' childhoods because sometimes, my son was very difficult when he was younger. Fantastic human being now, but he definitely struggled when he was younger with transitions, with
Hmm. Yes.
and using music to get through some of those situations, changes the whole tone of the day or the moment. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
encouraging people to do that really can be super helpful.
Yeah, and if you want kids to learn something, make up a song about it. Let's go
Absolutely.
brush our teeth, like whatever it is, right? Like, I mean, and then I started my songs that I wrote always had kind of like a message for the kids, like learn how to say, oh, well, or, oh, my favorite pants are dirty or whatever. Oh, well. So it's all these things that we wish a lot of adults knew that we can start to embed in the music for these kids. It's a
Yeah.
little mini NLP, if you will, for kids, to like embed those words and those concepts so that they can, because no matter what you sing, kids like it, you know?
Yeah. And something so simple as if like the energy in the day, like everyone's having a hard time, put on your favorite song, put it
Yeah.
on the radio and dance
Yeah.
like a maniac. Because
Right.
it's almost physically impossible to be in a bad mood when you're dancing because dancing releases these endorphins and it can change the whole course of your day,
Yeah.
and that's why I love
Amen.
teaching them because I was telling you before, I am not a morning person. I wake up like, oh my gosh, I have to get out of bed. And then I go and I sing and dance with these little people and it resets my entire mood for the day.
Oh, so true. I used to tell people like, do you get sick of singing like E-I-E-I-O? Well, yeah, I might get sick of singing Oh McDonald, but they give me as much joy as I'm there to bring them, right?
Absolutely.
Like we're teaching little kids about the joy of music, but really they are boosting everybody else's mood up in that room. All the people who are observing, right? All the people who walk in, the other teachers in the schools, everybody feels because you just raise the whole vibration of the place.
Yep. It changes everything. And it really is such a valuable instrument in that whole day of, working with your kids and moving
Yeah.
them through the challenges of the day.
Yep, absolutely. I love what you said. It's on my list of ways to change your mindset really quick. Do a little dance party for one, and we forget about that. Even to this day, I can still put music on in my kitchen. If I have a friend over, we're having a glass of wine and chatting or something. And before you know it, we might all be dancing in my kitchen. And it's okay.
Yep, nothing wrong with that, right?
There's nothing like an impromptu dance party. So I love that. I love how you are bringing both of those worlds together, and the other hidden thing within that is that I was always thinking to myself when I started doing that is you're creating a following, right? Because they love what you do. They love how you're helping them with their children. And now those adults want to come out and do something fun at night and you have something to offer them there too.
Yeah.
It's a
Yep. I've
win-win.
got a group of moms that have come out to a bunch of shows, and I was gonna make them t-shirts because, my company's called Jump, Jive and Sing, and it was gonna be this is terrible. Jump, Jive, and Drink. They come out and have a few
The
beers.
adult version.
Exactly, it was funny. So it's fun to see them, and they're like, 'cause you can show up in their jammy pants and their hair's in a bun or whatever, and I always see them in their mommy role, and they see me as the little kids' music teacher, and they come out, we all see each other as our grown-up selves, and then we're like, "Wow,
Mm.
totally different."
Right? Isn't that so cool? They're like, "Whoa, look at her. She's amazing commanding the stage." Yeah. It's just this other facet of you, but it's all like you said, you're building a community,
Yeah,
right? You're building a community. You're creating friendships and connections that will last for a really, really long time
yeah.
within that music class, right?
Yeah, it
And
makes me so happy when I see them arranging play dates or, see pictures of them a few years later and the kids are still together hanging out and the moms have become really close and they've, bonded all the way through the early childhood years. It's really very rewarding.
I love that because it can be isolating. I remember my 2 kids were 16 months apart, and I remember somebody saying, "Oh, the only hard thing about having them close is it's very isolating." It is. When they're new, you're just trying to get out the door. Like, it's an
Hard.
accomplishment
Yeah.
to get, "Oh, wow, I got out the door today." Like, your old life, you're like, "What?"
You're like, I did it.
Nobody pooped their pants. I actually made it to the car. They both got in their
I
car seats.
know. It's a huge goal.
So, like, offering that is a really beautiful thing to nurture that community and so that people feel a whole lot less alone, and I
Yep.
feel like that's one of the big points of music as well. The classes you do, but also when somebody hears your music and you tap into emotion that they feel that they think they're the only one that has. Again,
Yeah.
it's that feeling of, wow, somebody gets it.
Yeah, no, it is. It's fun also to see sort of that connection happen, like singing a song that may even, a lot of times I do solo acoustic stuff and I'll be playing a cover tune and I'll do like a different version of something. And you just see it all of a sudden connect with a person in the moment they're in. Like maybe they're just having a hard day and that song just hit a spot and you can just see their whole body react to it, and they may be
Mhm.
the only person in the room and you're like, oh, I'm playing to nobody, but you made a huge difference in that one person's night. And I think that's as writers and performers, sometimes we lose track of that. You lose track of what you're doing. As I said, I feel like sometimes being a musician is kind of self-indulgent, right? We're playing music and people clap for you and whatnot. But I really do feel like we need to remember that we are providing sort of a conduit, I guess, for people
Mm,
to reach their own emotions. Some people just can't tap into that as easily.
yeah.
It really does help that.
Absolutely. That is such a huge topic, and we're gonna hit on that again when we come right back. So don't go anywhere. At the top of the hour when I come back, we're gonna play one of Jen's songs, a little clip for you guys so you can hear that. And then we're gonna come on and talk about the emotional reciprocation that's happening between singer and audience. Hold tight, everybody. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Look for the Good. We are having such an awesome conversation here with Jen Teff. And I love talking about all things music with you. You are so easy to talk to. Um,
I
I love
gotcha.
where I thank you. I love where we ended off talking about the emotional piece and how music is really there to let people know that they're not alone in their feelings. Let's talk a little bit about that because I feel like that's so important, especially nowadays where it seems like everybody just wants to numb out. They just want to shove
Yeah.
it down or Netflix it out or ice cream it out or booze it out or whatever.
Yeah. I know it's I think there's so much going on these days too, like that almost sometimes it's hard to let yourself feel everything because I think you might get lost. There's so much going on in the world that can just
Mhm.
overwhelm you, especially if you're like an empathic person, like a lot of songwriters and creatives are. Um
Uh-huh.
and so I do think a lot of people put up a wall. but I think music always has been and always will be a way for people to connect to their own emotions. And I mean, I might write a song that's about something that I experienced. And, I try to like tap into what I need to say and what I need to express in that song, but also leave it a little open-ended so that whoever's on the other end of it can interpret it however they need to interpret it. And I mean, I love telling people what my songs are about if I in fact know what they're about, because sometimes I don't know
Right.
probably what they're about.
Right.
But I also don't like to color their interpretation of the song either. So it's
Yeah.
kind of a fine line there.
Isn't it? That's so
Yeah.
true. And tell me if you think this is true, because my music partner and I, we used to say that we were going to write a book about all the crazy stuff that happened on stage. But also about the fact that we might write a song thinking that it's about one thing. And then do you find that over time it sort of morphs itself? And then I don't know if it's that we change, the song change, or the song kind of comes to us, right? Like from wherever. And we are just song catchers, really.
Yeah.
Um, and it sort of seems to fill in some blanks at a later time, or does it morph? What are your thoughts on that?
No, I think that's entirely true because I've written songs that I wrote and I didn't feel overly emotionally connected to it in the process of writing it. But 10 or 20 years down the line, where I'm in a different place in my life, all of a sudden I find myself like in tears trying to play this song on stage. And I was like, whoa, what the heck's going on? So I
Right.
do think things, they do morph over time. And I love that sort of elasticity of music and songwriting because it doesn't mean the same thing at the same point in time. It doesn't mean the same thing to a different person. It's very
Mm,
subjective and
yeah.
ambiguous, and it leaves room for even a song that you call finished and recorded to grow over time, you know?
I love how you called it the elasticity of the song. Yeah, and I like what you said too about not getting too specific, maybe telling my version of what I thought it was about, but yeah,
Mhm.
leaving them room because that's where it happens in that interpretation, right? Is like, um, and so I feel like so many connections and bonding can be made over that. When somebody comes up to you afterwards, oh my God, that song made me think of, and then they want to share because they feel comfortable because they know you get it.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely like opening a doorway to people, sometimes too much. I
Right.
found this as a performer, like sometimes you take a break and you just need to go to the bathroom and get a drink of water and someone comes up and needs to connect with you on that
Right.
very personal level because you've opened that door.
Yeah.
And I guess that's part of our job. Sometimes you have to just be willing to do that and sort of share that moment with them, even if you're not quite ready for it, because you've been the person that helped open that door.
Right. You're the catalyst. And
Yeah,
they are so excited to share it with you. I know. And you need those few minutes between to not only get a drink of water, but get your head back together, right? And
right.
just get your energy, because it sounds like you're an empath, much like myself, as I think most songwriters and creatives are. You need to have those moments to come back into yourself.
Yeah.
Um, but still it's a symbiotic thing. We used to talk about that a lot too. Like, the audience is just as much a part of that show as we are.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, I think you're going to play the song called Caffeine. I think you said you might play it on the way out of this. And
Yep.
for me, that song is exactly about that exchange of energy. It's like we've had this experience together here. I've given you this, but you've given me so much more back. And let's do it again. I want to see your face again. I don't want this just to be like a one night stand. I want you
Ah,
back and I want us to make this relationship grow and this energy just keep building between us.
I love that.
And that's what I'm always looking for. That is my ultimate thing, is to hit that moment where you just feel like you're just completely connected to everybody in that room and that energy is all swirling around and sort of keeping everybody in that one moment.
Love that. I absolutely get exactly what you're talking about, because that is the magic of the music, right? Because you can play to an audience and it just feels like the room is dead, like just,
Yeah,
they're just not that. And it has really nothing to do with us, but it's just what's going on in that room.
right.
Um, Talk to me a little bit about the collaboration with your daughter, who is an incredible ice skater, and your song Caffeine.
Yeah, that was a total surprise to me. She loves music. She's very invested in music, as my son is too. They've grown up with the band rehearsing in the house, and us just a crazy life of music everywhere all the time. And she was graduating from high school, and she's part of the skating club of Boston, and they do a beautiful graduating seniors event every year. And she decided to surprise me by choreographing an entirely new short program to our song Caffeine, which just I'm gonna get weepy just thinking about it. You know, just that she thought enough of that and knows how important that is to me, just kind of knocked me. I'm getting all sleepy.
Me too. Me too. It's
It
catching
just
on.
knocked me for a loop. I really, yeah, I've
I
watched it about 1,000 times.
I watched it. I watched it. I think you had it posted up
Yeah.
on Facebook, and that is like the biggest compliment, right? Like
Yeah.
from one of our children to be like, "Hey, mom, I see you," because
Yeah.
that does not happen often.
No, and I mean, like, my kids, kind of ignored my music life until they got old enough to understand it, and now it's like, my son, he'll be 21. He and all his friends are coming to my release party, and they've been asking about it for months. "When is it? We can't wait, we can't wait." And my daughter is always sharing my music. She does a lot of my artwork. She did the album art.
Wow,
Um,
really?
yeah, she's an artist as well, and, it's just really cool to have your kids validate you, because most of the time kids are like, yeah, that's my mom. She's just my mom. But they understand
Right.
that I have a life outside of being their mother, and they appreciate that. And I think
Mhm.
it's helped them, in a lot of ways to advocate for themselves and for what they want, and maybe not follow the typical pathway in life, to really go after what you feel you need to do with your life.
I love that. You're teaching them so many amazing things, right? We teach by doing, right? Like how to run your own business and how to follow your dreams and to never give up, even when it gets hard. Because we know as musicians, it's always hard. Um, and a
And
lot of
nothing
different,
happens without that hard work, you
yeah.
have to put the work in.
Yep, you really do. I love that. I love all the lessons. And look at they're applauding you in their own way. I mean, is there a better compliment than that your daughter chose
Yeah.
your song?
Yeah, no, because I was always like, "Oh, it'd be so cool someday if she decided to skate to one of my songs," but I would never push that on her because she has to connect, to the music as well to be
Yeah,
able to skate and perform it,
of
and
course.
I was just completely knocked over by it. That's something I will never forget.
So you didn't know until you actually went there and watched it?
I actually didn't know, I didn't actually get to see it in person. Unfortunately, my father was coming in and he collapsed in the parking lot on the way in to see the event. So
No.
he's fine. But we spent the night in the ambulance and at the hospital, and she actually came out running out to me to find out what was going on and then told me then. And I was like, ah.
Oh, you're kidding.
So, I didn't get to see it live. I got to see
Mhm.
it recorded, but the skating club was amazing. They reached out to me. They're like, "We're gonna make sure we set it up again so that she has a time to do this so you can see it and your parents can come see it again in person."
Oh,
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, it was great.
That's a beautiful thing. Absolutely. So tell me about your release party.
So our release party is, coming up in a couple days. We're doing it at this amazing place called Fireseed Arts in Framingham, which, I just discovered this year through my drummer, Chris Georginas, who's an
Really?
amazing musician and amazing just animator, everything, amazing person. He knows the guys that own it, and it is this wonderful space where everywhere you look is just everything is a piece of art, like really cool stuff.
Mm.
And it has a stage and they throw concerts in there as well. So I'm really very excited about doing that show there. That is on Friday.
That's
And we
this Friday?
this Friday, the 14th.
Wow.
Two great bands, Lovina Falls and Little Billy Lost joining us on the bill, who I'm huge fans of both of them. And we're just looking to have a really wonderful night, making music and having a great time, celebrating all our hard work.
Absolutely. That sounds amazing. Tell them where can they find your album and how to find out more about you
Well, the
and the
best
band?
launching point is the website, which is jenniferteft.com. And you just need to remember that there are two F's in Teft. So it's Teft, jenniferteft.com. And all the
Awesome.
music, all our shows are there. There's videos. You can download the album. You can always stream it on Spotify, which I encourage you to do. But I also encourage you to also download it or purchase it. So that helps indie musicians like me be able to continue to make music.
Amen. Yeah. Talk to us about the band. Want to do a little shout out to the band?
Yep, so I mentioned Chris. Chris Georginas is our drummer, just wonderful human being, and my dog Simon likes him better than he likes me. We have John Perillo, who is my longtime guitar player. I've been with way too many years to even mention because that will show you my age. He's like a brother to me, and we've really grown up together.
Oh, that's cool.
And my bass player, Steven Betcha, we call him Sharky, has become one of my best friends over the last year and a half, 2 years. Just a phenomenal bass player and a phenomenal visual artist, also an author. They're all just ridiculously talented men.
Wow.
guitar player is a phenomenal photographer. My drummer is an animator, like just crazy.
Wow, you've
Um,
got all the services that you need right there.
I know there's so much talent. It's crazy.
It's
And we're just
amazing.
having a ton of fun. I mean, our rehearsals, I have to sort of like, kind of be the mean mom in the room and be like, "Come on, you gotta get some work done," because we
Get
just
done.
laugh and have way too much.
Really?
We're having a great time.
That sounds like so much fun. I love
Yeah.
that. I
Yeah, we
really
like,
love that. I
yeah.
love everything you stand for. I've really loved this conversation, and I'm so glad that you came on the show.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And I know it was a pain in the butt because our schedule was all wacky and we made it work. So thank you for your patience on that end.
Absolutely, that is the nature of the beast, as we say, right?
Yeah.
So, I love it. Everybody, go get a copy of her album. It is so amazing. You can hear that song "Caffeine," and everything about what Jennifer creates is just a beautiful work of art, all around. And if you want to go to her "Mommy and Me" classes, where can they find out about that?
So you can go to jumpjivesing.com and there's all the information there. And you can drop in and take a class for free to see how it goes or sign up for the whole session. We just get really silly and we have a lot of fun.
Love it. That's what it's all about when you have little kids. You've got to keep your sense of humor, as my mom
Oh
used
my
to always say.
gosh. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Jennifer, for coming on the show. This has been such a great conversation. I know my listeners are going to love it. So thanks again for being on the show. And everybody, go get her album, go find out about her, go follow her on social. They can find all your social links on your website, I'm assuming.
Everything's right there. Yep. One
And
stop shop.
everything's, yeah, awesome. And everything's in the show notes, guys. And if you want to find out more and get the inside scoop of what goes on here at Look for the Good, don't forget to sign up for my newsletter at carrierowan.com. Just click on the little tab that says podcast and sign up for it right there. And remember, everybody, it is never too late to live your best story. Be well.
Thanks for tuning in to Look for the Good with your host, Carrie Rowan, best-selling author and mindset coach. Join us every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. right here at Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. If you weren't able to catch an episode, no worries. Just visit our website to find all the archived episodes of Look for the Good on demand, so you don't miss a thing. And remember, it's never too late to live your best story. For additional resources or to find out about how you can work with Carrie directly, visit carrierowan.com for more details.